My name is Rosliana. I will be your moderator for accompany you in this webinar. So total we have 10 presenters, and as we already know that we have a theme for this webinar. The theme is teaching English through literature. So do you know what is literature? Okay, here some example. Can you see it? This is called literature because this is a branch of literature such as a novel, songs, dramas, and some things like that. Okay, I will introduce our presenter. So we have 10 presenters. I mean 10 presenter. The first presenter is Muhammad Fahri with the title Literature and its History. So it will explain about the history of literature itself. Okay, our second presenter is the beautiful one, Salma Samrotul, about what is literature for. Okay, and the third presenter is Ade Ilma Cahyani with the title Method for Teaching Literature. Of course, in the class, and we are applying literature in the class. Our fourth presenter is Rani Andriani with the title The Effectiveness of Using Literature. And our next presenter is Jihan Rahmi with the title Fun Learning Activity with Literature. So it will be very interesting to take or to bring literature to the class. And our sixth presenter is Intan Nanzila, bring the topic about literature for children. And the seventh moderator is Mina Rahma. It's a very interesting one because it will be explained about poetry and its beauty. And the second presenter is Hendriyana with the title Why Digital Literacy Matters. Why? And our ninth presenter is Muhammad Yula with the title Literature, the Way of Life. And our last presenter is Dimas Adisa with the title The Next Level of Literature. Okay, so before we move to the first presenter, I will explain several rules for this webinar. So we have 7 rules for our webinar. Okay, the first rule is absence. Okay, because you will need e-certificate after this webinar. So I ask you for typing your name and say present in the chat in up your phone. So for example, like this, you type Mia Rosliana present. Okay, so we already know who is attending this webinar. And the number 2 rules is do not stop the recording because we need the recording for our documentary, and it seems like a part for our assessment. So do not touch anything and just listen to us carefully. Okay, the next rules is I told you earlier because this is oral presentation, so it's only oral presentation. So you are I mean we have no written material such as PDF or presentation slide. We don't have any written forms, something like that. And I suggest you, because this is a lot of important information from this webinar, you can write down all of the point, all of the important things you think that it's important for you to write down. So it's okay. And to all of the participant and presenter, if it's not your turn, so turn off the cameras and the audio. Okay, we will not allow you to turn on your camera and your audio. Please turn off. And the material will deliver in turn, so the material will deliver one by one. The first material, the first presenter, the second speakers, and go on until our last presenter. And the most important is Q&A session. If you have any question for this webinar, you can type it on the chat box. Okay, you can type it. For example, I have a question for the first speakers, and you could say the name or the number of the presenter itself. Okay, for example, I have a question for first presenter. What is literature? What is literature for? Something like that. And because the time is limited, so we only accept 2 questions. And if you are still get curious about the answer, so we will contact you via email. And I think this all of the rules I had delivered to you, and this is the time Okay, we will move to the first presenter, Muhammad Fachri, Literature and its History. Muhammad Fachri, please welcome. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator, that give me a chance to me to give material to you all. So I'm gonna explain about the literature and its history. As you know, literature is something that written or spoken. But even though literature and writing have a connection, there's no similarity with it, due to the fact that the ancient literature is hieroglyph and symbol in Chinese. You know, hieroglyph in ancient Egypt. It was the ancient era. Then the new era is the new ancient. This is the first time human writing in stone and paper. In this era, people only, maybe all of them, usually write or read their mind, as we know as philosophy. The example in ancient Greek. And also, drama has been invented since before Christ. So, in there, drama is used for, what is it, like debating. Nah, in this era also, we found the largest ancient library, as we know as Library of Alexandria. And then next to the next era. In this era, as we call the medieval era, okay. In this era, the medieval era, it is all about people write their, what is it? Write about religion and culture. Like example, in Europe with the Christianity, like example of Bible. In Middle East, especially Arab, in where Islam was developed, like example Quran, Hadith, and Kitab of Miraj. And also in India with the Hinduism, and Japan with Shinto culture. And then we next to the Renaissance era. As we know, before as you know, in medieval era, everything has been written with hand, like using tint and paper. Now, in this Renaissance era, this is a big innovation that maybe changed the literature forever. The human have already invented the press printer. Yeah, printer. And also in this era, it's all about poetry, full of poetry about love, romance, and many more. And the next era, as we call the early modern era. In this era, the novel was first invented and it became more popular in the next century. And also created the famous writer, as we know, like example William Shakespeare, and also William Shakespeare. Now, in this era also, literature has changed as entertainment purpose. Like example, drama, yeah, and many more. In drama also, they made a new role. It's a comedic role. Example, like people dress up as a jester or clown. And also, the female role has been played by men. Nah, also in this era also make a metaphysical movement like about ghosts, yeah, legend, and many more. And we next to the modern period. In this period, Gothic, Gothic about monsters and more, this has been invented. And also have created the modern writer, like example Hans Christian Andersen, Charles Dickens, and many more. But in this era, there's no much any, development because the outbreak of World War I and World War II. Nah, and the next development is the 1980. The new writer like about the story, as you know, the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and Harry Potter. Nah, in this era has invented. And also human has invented, make a new concept about mechanical, yeah, mathematics as we know, computer. And they are also invented the new kind of literature as we know about digital literature that's still invented and still developed until now. Thank you everyone. I'm back again to the moderator.
Okay, thank you so much for the explanation. It's very great to know about the history of literature itself. So we already know about the development of literature from the poetry. It's only poetry, and now we have a lot of branches of literature such as novel, drama, and it's like a bigger development until now. Okay, we will move to the next topic. It's about what is literature for? What's for? It will be answered by Salma Samrotul. Salma Samrotul, please welcome. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you to the moderator who gave me the time, and thank you to the first speaker for his material. And now you join with me, Salma Samrotul in webinar series EDSA UNSIL 2020. And I hope you can enjoy my presentation with the topic, what is literature for? What is literature for is a kind of the benefits from literature itself. So before knowing the benefits, let's take a look to the definition of literature. Literature is works of art, mostly written, mostly in written form and sometimes spoken material, and commonly used to refer to work of the creative imagination, such as poetry, drama, fiction, non-fiction, and so on. Now, in this occasion, I will explore the benefits of literature, especially for teaching English. First, literature improve your command of language. Why? Because the students in literature, they provide a wide range for students, provide the example of writing style, make the students familiar with many features of written language, as stated by Sidhu and Safidu. They said that literature unconsciously enhance students' overall linguistic competence, such as syntax, morphology, semantic, and phonetic. And literature also is a representation of various authentic uses of language. And second, according to Tasnir, literature is a very enjoyable resource to learn a language. In this case, the teacher must be able to find the right method to use in the class so it can make the students learn comfortably and pleasantly. And the third, literature effort meaningful context of curriculum. When the students learn literature based on the curriculum, they are able to put historical facts, figures, and even from the textbook into content. And they can make an exciting discussion, and also it can be their way to practice their critical thinking. And the fourth, literature is a source for every particular things. Uh, as stated by Coe in 2002, he noted that children's books are multifunction. It means that we can get know so many things from literature. And also literature have uh, to help the students to find the new ideas and knowledge. They can help the students to see something happen in the real world, give the student information about the other part of the world. For example, various cultures from different countries. With the literature, it helps the students to understanding the concept from it, and it can help them to know to learn the issues, the social issues or values in life. It can help the student to increase awareness of humans situation and conflicts. And the last, literature expand students vocabulary and improve their ability to write. For example, when they read the narrative text, they will find new word, new vocabulary, new sentence pattern, idiom or figurative language. They will curious about it. They will looking for the information about it, and finally they will want to learn about it. That's all of my material. I hope you guys can get the new information from me. Thank you for your kind attention, and I return it to the moderator.
Oh, thank you so much. Such a great explanation about the benefit of literature itself. So we already know about the basic topic, the basic materials about literature, and the second we already know about what is the benefit of literature itself. And then we will move to the next topic. It's about method for teaching literature. This is kind of like applying literature to the class and what method is suitable for the student itself. Okay, please welcome Ade Ilma Cahyani. Time is yours.
Thanks to the moderator who has given me the time. And hello everyone, I'm Ade Ilma Cahyani. Thanks for stay tuned on our webinar. My topic is method for teaching literature. Before going to our topic, let's know about what does language teaching mean. Language teaching means teaching the skills. It involves listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And teaching the system, it involve vocabulary and grammar. And now let's discuss about the method of language teaching. We can divide into three periods. For the first is early to mid 20th century. For the second is 1970 to 1980. For the last is 1980 to the present. And for the first period is early to mid 20th century. There are probably three methods in this period. Those are grammar translation method, the direct method, and the audiolingual method. For the first method is a grammar translation method. Grammar translation method is a method for language teaching that use grammar and translation as the main teaching and learning activities. This method is focused on the reading and writing rather than speaking and listening, especially memorizing the grammatical rules. There is no emphasis on listening and speaking comprehensions. There are also the plots of this method. Those are translation of the literary passage, reading comprehension questions, and the grammatical rules are taught deducatively by using presentations. And the next method is direct methods. The direct method was developed as response as a grammar translation method. This method is focused on the oral communications. The listening and speaking are taught, and the grammatical rules are taught inducatively. And there are three methods that usually used in the direct method. Those are the Rausus method. The Rausus method that the method which focus on the listening and speaking rather than reading and writing. In this method, the teacher should help the students by using drama and another creative actions to convey the meaning and to help the students to learn the target language. And for the next method is TPR. TPR means total physical response. TPR usually using pictures and our body language to convey the meaning in the target language. And for the last method is TPRS. TPRS means teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. This method is combining between the previous method that I mentioned before, and this method is mixtures between reading and the storytelling. So the teacher help the students to learn the target language by using reading and storytelling. And the last method in this period is the audiolingual method. The audiolingual method is the method which focus on the listening and speaking, and the grammatical rules are taught through communication, through dialogue. And for the second period is 1970 to 1980. Uh, there is probably one method in this period that is the silent way. The silent way is a method for language teaching that based on the ideas. So the teacher have to be silent as much as possible during learning process, and the learners have to speak up as much as possible during the learning process. And the last period is 1980 to the present. There are so many methods here, but I mentioned one of them. That is CLT. CLT means communicative language teaching. CLT is a method for language teaching that emphasize on the oral communications in the language learning process. This is focused on the oral communications and on the students communicating real message. And that's all from me. Thanks for your kind attentions. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we back to our moderator today.
Awesome. It's a great to know about the method for teaching literature. If you have a dream in the future for being a teacher, it will be a great opportunity to listen us because we will talk a lot about a teacher. And for the participant, are you still there? Please stay tuned and sit on your chair because we have a seven presenter and we will move to the next presenter, Rani Andriani, with the topic the effectiveness of using literature in EFL class or English foreign language. Rani Andriani, please welcome. Time is yours.
All right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the moderator who has given me time to deliver my material that's about the effectiveness of using literature in EFL. And I'd like to say thank you to all of the audience has joined this webinar. I hope you guys will enjoy this webinar and get the point from what will I say today. Talking about English that nowadays has become a teaching cross globe that most of the country in the world has learned and teach about this language. And because of that, many teachers and researchers that try to find the new method to make the students easier to learn the new language, especially English. One of the way is using literature. Because when we learned about the new language, we need to know the basic knowledge about the language, such as the basic vocabulary, the basic structure, and it will achieve by we use literature into classroom. For example, when we try to give stories to the students the students will learn about the basic grammar, the basic vocabulary, the basic structure from the stories. And with the aid of the stories, it will gain their literacy skill and also their critical thinking, and it will very good for help the learners to learn about the new language. And then moreover, using literature into EFL classroom, into language classroom, is very effective because, as I said before, that by using literature we can give the basic knowledge for the students that helpful for the students that learned about the language. And then using literature, it's very relevant to the students' life because yeah, it's very uh, relate to the student's life. And then literature is more relate to the young learner's cognitive. So now I'd like to mention some advantages that we will get if we use literature into EFL classroom. The first is with using literature, we can make the learning process more memorable. As Lazar in 1993 discussed that literature provide meaningful and memorable processing and interpreting language. And then the second is uh, literature could make the material more visible because literature is about, I mean, most of the literature is about uh, what is that? Experience and then imaginations, and it will more relate to the students' life, and the students will more enjoy the classroom. They more enjoy the learning process. And then the next is literature could accommodate AFL students' reading habit and ability levels. So because literatures is most of literature is about reading about text. So the students will more usual to read whether it is a story, article, or novel, and it will increase their reading skill. And then the fourth is with use literature, it will increase their what is that critical thinking. So when the learners more usual to read what is that the book or novel or article, it will increase their critical thinking because when they read many questions that will uh, appeared in their mind. All right, I think that's all from me. I back it to the moderator. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, it's amazing to know about the effectiveness of using literature in the FL classroom. And I think, like, sounds weird. Like, is it literature will be fun when we apply it in the class? It will be boring, such as like reading Harry Potter's book. It will be like, the time is very limited. And how to make it fun when during teaching literature in the class? So it will be answered by our next speakers. Jihan Rahmi with the title Fun Learning Activity with Literature. Jihan Rahmi, please welcome. Time is yours.
Hello everyone, I'm Jihan Sumantri. Okay, thank you for joining our webinar today. So I hope that you all of guys in the great connection. And before we move to our deeper discussion, we have to know the basic thing we have to know is what is literature. Any method or approach toward using literature in the classroom must take as a starting point question, what is literature? Literature is a story, poems, and play, and those are considered to have a value and not just for the entertainment. According to Macmillan Publisher, 2003. There have been different models that suggested on the teaching the literature in the classroom. So according to Carter and Long and Lazar, and it says that in the books that there's three models that can we use in the literature classroom. The first is the cultural models, and the second is the language model, and the third is the personal growth. And we have to explore more about it, and I believe that each model can create a fun activity in the literature classroom for the students. And we move to the next method, we will talk about more about the models. The first model is the cultural models. The cultural models view a literature as a product. So they more explore about social, political, historical background of the text or of the literature or anything. And the activity can be variety, and it can create such fun activity like a poster review. I believe that all of you know a poster review. The learner and the student can create their own poster as they want. They can make a beautiful poster one and make it like an exhibition in the classroom, and the other learners or the other student can take a look and read which one they're interest one. So I believe that it can gain more confidence, it can gain more their opinion, it can gain more their interest and creativity with these models. And we will move to the second models. The second models is the language model. This model more learner center. So this method explore about structure and vocabulary, grammar, and analysis. Some students might find it really boring or it's really hard because some of them tend to not really get along with the grammar or with that kind of thing. So you have to make it a fun in order to the student can get fun and can learn too in the same time. So the example of this activity is a game guessing, or correcting game. So I believe that all of you have been tried before or have been heard before about the game guessing or correcting. So I hope that you can really connect it. And the game guessing is kind of game that it's an activity, but at the same time you can learn about the grammar, analysis, vocabulary, and many more that really focus into literature or writing of literature. And the aim of this model is to help learner to read and study literature more competently. So I believe that some of you can make it really fun with a game. And we will move to the next model, or the last model is the personal growth model. This model is really interesting to talk about because this model is more learner centered, and the model encourage learner to draw on their opinions, feelings, and personal experiences. So the example of literature for this model, or you can create activity, is there's several activity. For the first is writing activity. Writing activity, it's like about the learner or the student can create a poem, short story, article that based on their personal feeling and personal experiences and anything that related to themselves, because these models explore about their opinions, feelings, and personal experiences. So, and it can help the student to gain more confidence to write their own story, to make their own literature. So I believe that it really must be a fun activity. And we will move to the next activity that can create based on the personal growth is the literature circles and books club. This one is really rare in Indonesia or in our education system because it's mostly adopted from its origin from the Western or the outside of this country. So I believe that if you can create this activity in the literature classroom, you can make the learner or the student gain more interest with literature more, because these literature circles and book clubs is really interest for the student. They can choose which one they really enjoy, a books or a genre or anything that really related to literature, and the books they really enjoy they can sharing with their friends too. So I believe that this will be a very fun activity to create in the classroom or a literature classroom. And in order to make it happen, or in order to make it a fun activity, you have to remember one thing. It's useless if you use these models but you don't choose the right book for the student or the learner. So you have to choose a right book in order to make it happen, to make it a fun creativity according to their age and their comprehension. So I believe that all of you have to choose the right book for the learner, for the student, according to their age, their comprehension, and their understanding about the books and about the literature. And if you choose the right book, I believe that all of you can create a really fun activity. And there's one great saying that I really like about the literature that I got from the one of the movie. I believe that all of you have been watched this before, The Greatest Showman. So after I heard this saying, I really gaining more interest into literature. That's why I'm here. So they're saying that literature is one of the most interesting and significant expression of humanity. That's said by P.T. Barnum. So I hope that you can hear it from your learner, from your students, and they gain more interest in literature more. So I believe that after you all heard this information, you can create a really fun activity with your students in the literature classroom. Thank you. For me, maybe enough. And wherever you are, I hope that you always stay healthy, stay safe, and always keep a social distancing. Thank you. We'll be back to moderator.
Okay, thank you so much for explanation. It's such as a great information for us to know about the activities in classroom, and I believe that literature was being helping us in the classroom. Fun activities. Do you still remember when you are in senior high school? Our teacher always like playing a song, and we like fill the blank. Okay, to know about the lyrics. And the most important in this university, I think it will be fun if we are can watching movies together in the class, especially when lecturer or teacher give us some candies or some snack. It will be very beautiful. And because the literature is must be suitable with the age, so okay, we will move to the next presenter. Literature for children. Is it impossible for children using literature in the class? Okay, it will be answered by Intan Nanzila. Intan Nanzila, please welcome. Time is yours.
Alright, thank you for the time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let's move on to the topic about literature for children with me Intan Nanzila. Alright, what actually literature is? Okay, I think the definition of literature already explained by Salma before, but I will add some about literature. Alright, literature is a term used to describe written and sometimes spoken material derived from the Latin word literature, meaning writing form with letters. Literature most commonly refers to works of the creative imagination, including poetry, drama, fiction, and then non-fiction, and in some instances, journalism and song. Then, started by Panuti Sujiman, 1986, literature is an oral or written work that has various characteristic features such as originality, artistry, beauty in the content, and expression. Yeah, I agree with that statement because because many characteristic features of literature, and I think the great literature is simply language with the meaning is easy to understand, especially literature for children. And then, the simply put, literature represents the culture and tradition of a language or a people that has many features of literature. And it's clear that the accepted definition of literature is constantly changing and evolving. So, how is literature in the lives of children? Yeah, literature serves children in four major ways. It helps them to better understand themselves and then understand each other, their world, and the aesthetic values of written language. When children read a book about fiction or poetry or biography, they often assume the role of one of the characters. When children assume the role of a book's character as they read, They interact vicariously with the other characteristics portrayed in that particular selection. In the process, they learn something about the nature of behavior and the consequences of personal interaction. In one sense, they become aware of similarities and the differences among people. Books can figuratively transport readers across time and space. Other places in time, past, present, or future invite children exploration. Because of that exploration, children come to better understand the world in which they live and their own relationship to it. Oh yeah, the differences of literature for children and adults is different. For example, for children literature that use is simple and easy to understand words, but literature for adults is more mature in content and more complex. So the conclusion is written language in its literary uses is an instrument of artistic expression. Through prose, poetry, or any features of literature, children can explore the versatility of the written word and learn to master its depth of meaning. Through literature, too, children can move beyond the outer edges of reality and place themselves in worlds of make-believe, unfettered by the constraints of everyday life. Alright, I think that's all for me. Thanks for your kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we're back to our moderator today.
Wow, it's so fantastic to know about that children can learn about literature and it's depend on the age and it's depend on their material. It sounds like impossible when you give them such as Harry Potter books to the kindergarten. It's totally impossible. Okay, and we will move to the next topic, and it's catch my eyes because the topic is very interesting. This is about poetry and his beauty, and this is well delivered by Mina Rahma. Mina Rahma, please welcome. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mia. The rose is red, the violet's blue. For 5 minutes ahead, I will accompany you. Hello, everyone. My name is Mina Rahma Aziza. As I said before, I will accompany you with my presentation entitled Poetry and its Beauty. Thanks for keep stay tuned and please enjoy it. Before we start, I'm going to divide the presentation into two sections. The first section is the definition of poetry, and the second one is the elements that cause poetry become beauty. Well, let's start with the first section. Poetry is beautiful because it's created with the most attentive instances of our minds. It's appealing because the most of poems mean to be read by others. Sayuti 2008 state that poetry is a form of language expression that takes into account the aspect of the sounds in it, which expresses the imaginative, emotional, and intellectual experience of the poet drawn from his individual and social life, expressed by a certain choice of techniques so it can evoke certain experience in reader or audience. Poetry itself is actually derived from poesis or creating. It consisting of two things, namely the body and the spirit. The body of poetry can be interpreted as the synthetically, and in the spirit can be interpreted as the as the semantically. Well, from the explanation above, I will explain the second section is about the element that makes poetry become beauty. The first is the synthetic element in poetry. Number one is diction. Bearfield states that diction is a word chosen and arranged in such a way to mean to cause or intended to cause an aesthetic image. Then the result is the poetic diction. Uh, it means that choosing the right words in the poetry can make a good poetry. The second is imagery. Nurshal said that poetry, that poetic, that imagery as a poetic device that refers to the senses of experience in order to make the reader participate in the poem. Participate here means that the reader can imagine what is said in the poetry. And the third is concrete word. Concrete here means that it refers to the object and events that are available to the senses, such as to sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. Number four is figurative language. Figurative of speech in that dominates in a literary work, such as poetry. It's a metaphor. Basically, metaphors are created on basic of similarity of two things or term. Similarity here can be the same of shape or physical form, the characters, or even the similarity of perception. Then the next is the semantic elements of poetry. Number one is the theme. The themes become important in poetry because it tells about the outline in the poetry. The second one is feeling. Beautiful poetry doesn't always talk about love and happiness because talking about the sadness and pain can also make poetry become beauty. Because the important one is delivery of deep meaning in the poetry and mood. The right poetry reading can make the reader listener or the reader enjoy the contents of the poem. Thus, it can make the reader and the audience understand the beauty of poetry easily. And the fourth is the message and our moral value. The message is very important in poetry because as we know that in poetry there are always things that want to be conveyed to the reader and the audience. As a result, beautiful in poetry is mean that the poetry can touch the feelings of the reader and the audience. Also, if the listener and the audience can feel the meaning of the poem, so through those elements, as I said before, it can be said that they have been succeeded in understanding the true beauty of poetry. Thank you. Back to Mia.
Oh, it's fantastic to know about the poetry itself. Like, I agree with you that poetry, what makes poetry beautiful is the feeling and the diction. Word choices, it's very important for building a poetry itself. Okay, participant, hello, are you still there? Do not sleep, okay. We still have three presenters and it concludes about 15 minutes, so stay tuned. We will move to the next presenter is Hendriyana. Why digital literacy matters? Why? Why not? No, it's a wrong answer. So we will go ahead to Hendriyana. Hendriyana, please welcome. Time is yours.
All right, thank you for the moderator. So, how you doing, guys? I hope you stay in a good and healthy condition. In this occasion, I'm Henry. I would like to share you and invite you guys to discuss about why digital literacy is really matter. As we know that today we live in digital age, so everything become digitalized. Think about we live now, from get out of bed till we going to bed again. We always using digital tools. So almost every day, every time, in every condition, we always using digital tools. But did you know that in this day, it's not the right time for us to only knowing how to use digital tools, but this is the right time for us to more digital literate. So what does that mean? Digital literate or digital literacy is a form of using digital critically. So why we should do that? The first reason, while we searching online to get new information or to get sources or evidence for your academic purposes, we have to be careful about the information because on the internet isn't only provide the true things, but the internet is also contains hoax, false information, and even propaganda. So we have to consider the credibility and the trustworthy of the web, and we also can try more dig the information from another website and another institution on the internet. We also can play different stream, or we can use a different searching engine. Why? Because when we use a various searching engine, we can look how the result will be different, and we can find out the language style is different. As David Crystal said, he is a British linguist. He said that the website or the internet is always changing the language. So from that various language style, we indirectly can learn from it. And the second reason is when we scrolling our Instagram or our social media institution, we have to also be careful to the information, because in the social media is also contain the negative side. For example, such as hoaxes, propaganda, of course, and virus or ransomware. So in this case, as educated people, we have to critically evaluate the information. We have to filter the information and minimally don't get involved to that kinds of issue. And the third reason, Liz Zeko said on TEDx Talks Copenhagen, he said that rather than student only consuming the internet or the media, but student is also can create something, can post something on the internet. But before getting to it, we have to be careful. We have to consider about the effect or the influence that might be occur when when the society is look to our posting or our creative. So our responsibility in this case is we have to always post something good. We have to always post something positive and say no to spreading hoaxes, spreading untrusted news. And then staying safe online is also pretty necessary. What and how we do that? So we can stronger our passwords, something like that, and then never give our email address to untrusted institution, never give our ID number or verification code, something like that. And think about when we doesn't concern to that kinds of problem, not only virus or ransomware, but also another harmful cybercrime, such fraud is also will occur and damage our online life and even our real life. So in this time, we don't take it for granted. Maybe those thing is pretty simple, pretty little thing, but it can stimulate a huge aspect for our capability while using digital tools. So don't take it for granted. Let's do it right now, because the little thing is start for the bigger one. I'm Hendriyana. Thank you for watching, and back to moderator. Thank you.
Marvelous. It's like a new thing to know about digital trust. Yes, we know that we live in digital era, so we need to use the technology wisely and do not trust. Do not believe easily to the information. So it's like a one step to avoid the hacks. Okay, we move to the next presenter is Muhammadillah. He will talk about literature, the way of life. Muhammadillah, please welcome. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, and thank you for the moderator for the amazing introduction to all the audience. And I'm Muhammad Yula Hasan, and I'm here going to talk about the way of literature bring in our life. So, as you know, that many people think literature is something that we always do in school or in the art show, like poetry, novel, telling story, music, drama, or a combination between drama and musical drama or it is also for your job. Nowadays, literature is not all about that. Maybe you spend your time about 2 or 3 hours for watching TV, listening to radio, surfing the web, read your friends' status, whether it's in Instagram or Twitter, chat with your friends on social media. And the digital itself now not always as the media for teaching and learning process. Digital can be a facilities for distance learner, for example, to study without having go to the lecture for specific time to have live lessons. It's important that we understand its influence in everything we do. So when I'm speaking about literature with digital, let's think about the way we all use digital technology in our life. So, in a field of study, digital literacy is the ability to find, evaluate, and composes clear information through writing on the media from critical thinking and psychology to linguistics. So in digital literature, there are two things control who control it, and that is of course human and machine. So the form of digital literature, there are hypertext. You when you are reading on the blog or Wikipedia, you will see this type of text with blue color text with the underline. So next is interactive fiction. It is usually applied in video game where the player or the readers must solve the mystery or develop the storyline. And of course, there will be a text conversation between the other character or non-player character. So the animation is also the part of digital literature in network fiction. And last is coding. It is making a computer program for problem solving such as mathematics online. I mean program like Excel and SPSS for statistics and online dictionary, writing tools, and many more. So literature is not just for entertain us, but also can solve the problem by using our knowledge and making a program in a computer to be consumed by other people. So experience in digital technology is very important too because it's already influenced in everyday life. So because the time is limited, I will end my webinar here. Thank you and please back to the moderator.
Wow, it's so awesome to know about the development of literature itself. It's something like we already know that literature is only like spoken or written, and now we all know that literature is more bigger than it, such as like a digital literacy and something like that. Okay, take a deep breath, and we will move to the last presenter. This is Dimas Adisa, and he will explain about the next level of literature. Dimas Adisa, please welcome. Time is yours.
Okay, thanks for the moderator. Hello, I am Dimas Adisa Suratama, and thanks for the first participant for joining us. I hope you enjoy our session, and I think I am the last presenter of this session. We have listened so much variety of literature from the previous presenter, and I'm here to share about what the next level of literature or that is called digital literature. The first, what does it mean? Is it digital literature is an PDF file? No. PDF file has a file extension that just change the form from a paper to digital file. For example, you can scan a book and you can convert it to your mobile phone or computer and etc. The first work of digital literature is or electronic literature was made by Christopher Strachey in 1952 and it's called Love Letter. He was not a writer but he was a computer scientist that made a random number generator but the generator will show you the love letter and just one click. It was so helpful rather than we should write a love letter and we should think what while writing. Digital literature is from a different form from traditional literature. Traditional literature has a form like on paper, such as poem, short story, and etc. And then in digital literature have a more feature than the traditional one. For example, the traditional one we can read a novel and we should imagine or visualize what happened in story. And in the digital literature we can change the form to the pixel, movie, and film. For example, there are so many movies that are lifted from a novel. Another example of digital literature is we can turn the story into the interactive, such as video games. I won't say all video games are digital literature, but at some points there are so many games that have a story or it's called a visual novel. The games are focused on image, sound, and story. And we can get a different ending depending what we choose. Different with the traditional novel that we just follow the story and get the one ending. There is no another ending. So basically, digital literature is a traditional literature we could know, such as printed text and how it adapts itself to more digital form. And it's attractive for the reader or students, and they could contribute to itself. So, digital literature is a recent genre of literature in its constant transformation with so much possibilities yet to be discovered. Me, Dimas Adisa, and thank you. And then back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you so much for explanation. It's very awesome to know about the time from the first literature appears until now, until the digital era, and it's a very long journey from literature itself. Okay, hello listener, are you still there? Okay, so we will move to the Q&A session. Okay, so we only have because time is limited, so we only answer the question from the participant and you can type it on the chat box. Okay, and do not forget to enter your name and your presence for your e-certificate. Okay, let's see. I still have no accept the question. Okay, hello everyone. Are you still there? Not asleep? Remember that we are doing a seminar, not hearing a podcast. Okay, but there's only like a screenshot on the chat book. I think it gets new to Skype. It's okay. Okay. Is there any question for us? So we already delivered a lot of topic. Totally, we have 10 topics about literature itself. And okay, and we only accept. We only answer the question, and to whoever not get answered for the question, we will send it to your email. Okay, there is no question. Okay, I think there are a lot of people typing. Okay, it will be good if it will be good if you have a question and to whom you asking this question. For example, like asking the question for the second presenter, what is literature for? Something like that. Okay, it's really good, and we will try to answer a question. Okay, let's see the chat box. Okay, still typing. I will wait. It's okay. It's very interesting to know about literature, right? Just like it's in digital era, they're still available. I mean, like it's not what is it? Literally still important. Just like animation, yeah, it's like a lot of people like it, and web novel or something like that. Yeah, because it's like a move or change because we are living in digital era. Okay, let's see. Oh, still typing. Okay, I will wait. It's okay. I'm just glad that I represent our group. Say thank you. Okay, we accept a question. Oh, this is from Miss Arini. The question is, how can we teach young learners using poetry? Give example. Young learners. I think this question is no, I mean it's about like it's uh to our seventh presenter, Mina Aziza, but it's okay. Everyone can answer the question. So the question is, I will repeat the question. The question is, how can we teach young learners using poetry? Poetry to young learners, it will be fun. Yeah, and everyone still typing. Okay. We accept one question again, and we will send it another question. We will send it to your email. Okay. Okay, we are accept another question. This is from Tirsa. I want to ask about why digital literature matters, how to create digital content in a meaningful way. Okay. We have three presenters that delivered about digital literacy. It will be related with the question. Okay, and the last question is from Serlia. How social media can change our real life? I presenter and what method is the most effective to teach young learners? Oh, okay. So this is like two questions from Celia. The first question is how social media can change our real life, and the second question is and what method is the most effective to teach young learners? For the third presenter, okay, for the eighth presenter and for the third presenter. Okay, I think because the time is limited, so we will only answer from Miss Arini and from Tirsa. Okay. Uh, okay. I think all of the presenter is ready to answer the question. Please to everyone who want to answer this question, turn on your cameras and turn on your audio.
Okay. Hello. I will try to answer by answering the Miss Arini question. And if I'm not mistaken, the young learner can catch up the rhyme or the words very quickly. So I think that we can use a poetry and as a media that can increase their rhyme and their vocabulary by reading out loud in front of classroom, and they can, after they can understanding the basic of reading out loud, or I mean the how to read it or how to get a rhyme and rhyme and words effectively, they catch up really quickly. So after reading out loud, they can create their own poetry by their own word that they're after the reading out loud. I think it can affect their minds or their words vocabulary or vocabulary dictionary in their minds. So I think that they can use poetry as a media to reading out loud the poems and poetry, I mean, in front of the class and reading out loud. And after that, they can try to practice about their reading writing activity after the reading out loud of the poetry. I think by reading out loud, it's really effective for young learner to know about more rhyme and vocabulary by reading out loud of poetry. I think that's all for the question of Miss Arini. Thank you.
Okay, the first question is answered already. That a lot of a lot of ways to teach the children about the poetry itself, and I think like the songs can be included to the poetry because like a song is part of poetry. I mean, some of them like I heard a lot of like it's a song is related to poetry itself, and I think it can be the song first. Okay, for the second question will be answered. I think to whoever who want to answer the question, please turn on your camera and your audio.
Right. All right. I would like to answer the second question from Tirsa. Yeah. So, in my opinion, how we can create a meaningful digital content, I think on the internet environment, we create something, some posting that such positive or such inspiring content for the society, not only for young people, but also for all of the society, and not only kinds of the materials for such in the school, but a lot of inspiring content that we can create nowadays. Not only such unnecessary thing like in this today's era, so many unnecessary thing that, for example, YouTuber create. So as educated people in this case, we have to create something inspiring, not only such for academic purposes, but for something like music, something like something like that is pretty necessary for nowadays. And I think the millennial in this case is pretty dominated because they also have a lot of wide knowledge about using technology and digital tools. So a meaningful content in this context is, I think we can use and posting a positive thing and inspiring content to everyone. Say no to spreading unnecessary thing. Maybe that's all for me, and maybe someone will add something.
Okay, I think because the time is up, we still accept a question. Question still appears, but I'm sorry that the time is up. So we will contact you via email, and I will come to the conclusion for this webinar. So the conclusion is literature. Okay, I'm sorry. There is still a question appears. Sorry that time is up, and we will contact you via email. Okay, the conclusion is literature is the important thing in our life because it's developed from the spoken and written, and now it's from it being a digital. It's very useful for us, and especially related to our topic related to our theme that teaching English through literature. So there are a lot of ways for teaching English, for using literature to teach English in the classroom to the student. There are a lot of ways and a lot of methods for the teacher to give it, to deliver it to the student. And we need to look the appropriate one, and to the stable one with the student, we need to think about the age. We need to think about the materials. We need to think about the comprehension capability and something like that. And digital literacy is very matters because that in this digital era we will we always touch in with the technology, so we need to use the digital wisely, and we need to position ourselves in the right position, and it means we need to take a lot of benefit from the information itself. Okay, I will come with the quotes from Kirk Douglas. The learning process continues until the day that you die. So it's already correct that I hope you, especially the listener, can take a lot of benefit from our webinar. And but I hope you are not enough with us because you can search it by yourself. Okay, I send the biggest thank you and the biggest appreciate to all of the to all of the presenter, and especially to our beloved participant. uh, I think it's enough from us. Stay at home, stay healthy. That we don't know until when we stay at home, but let's do not lose hope because uh, this kind of situation will go on soon. Okay, thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You can end this webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think